jewel ring on her chain. She's my steady, I'm her man. I'm gonna love her all I can. This day is ours. Won't you be mine? This day is ours. Please be mine. Gonna cruise her around the town, show everybody what I found. Rock and roll with all my friends, hoping the music never ends. This day is ours.
Won't you be mine? This day is ours. Won't you be mine? Happy Days is back. I'm back. I hope everybody is having a great Wednesday and an incredible week. Happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. Saturday, what a day. Rocking all week with you. All right, everybody. Happy Days is back. If you're following me for the first time, you don't know about Happy Days. We used to play Happy Days all the time a couple years back, and shoot, it wasn't even that many Happy Days. But we're back. Episode 59 is back. Cox by 90 is back. I am your host. Show me your TDs. We're missing Sir Big Spur tonight. Usually he's right here to my right. He's not there tonight, but I'm here. And I am filled with positive Gamecock energy. I've got my Garnet glasses on. I've got my Loyal shirt on. It is a great week. It's always great to be a Gamecock, but it has been a dang good week to be a Gamecock. Where do we start? You know, we could talk about the 2 basketball wins we had last night, but I think I want to get started with that beatdown in Williams-Brice Stadium this past Saturday night with 70,000 screaming Cock fans. Rowdy night in Columbia, South Carolina, as we, the Gamecocks, put up the most points ever against Florida. That is a crazy stat. Knowing that we had Spurrier here for a decade, and we still never eclipsed the 40-point mark. The Marcus Satterfield-led Gamecocks did something nobody else has ever done. 40 points, biggest beatdown ever against Florida, 27 points margin of victory, or 23 points margin of victory. Absolutely incredible performance all around. I'll tell you, I'm a guy that likes to look ahead. You know, just that's your sports mindset. You're always looking ahead. And you don't like to look back. But I'm going to look back at some great things that happened Saturday night. So first, I'm just looking at the box score right now. Our running backs each averaged over 6 yards per carry Saturday night. Now, before we give kudos to the offensive line, let's say, heck of a job hitting holes, running through tackles to our running backs. Because at the end of the day, the offensive line did an extremely great job of providing good holes for our running backs to hit. But these running backs, I mean, Zaquandre White set the tone of the game with that big 40, 50-yard run early. You know, the hole really wasn't there. That was about 4 or 5 broken tackles. These running backs came in. They took what the offensive line gave them, which was some holes. But these running backs, man, Kevin Harris looked healthy, hitting the hole, breaking tackles. Same with Marshawn Lloyd. I think, again, kudos to the offensive line, but these running backs, again, averaged over 6 yards per carry, 2 eclipsed the 100-yard mark. You can't do it without your offensive line. But I will tell you this, they set the tone. They absolutely set the tone. You know, a lot of people talk about Jason Brown in his first start, and I thought he did a heck of a job. Alex, what's up, man? Spurs up. I will tell you this. That first play call, again, a little flea flicker action. He goes through the progressions. We end up hitting Van for what, like a 20-yard strike? that set the tone. But these running backs, Zaquandre White popping you in your face, running through you, that set the tone. And I think even Marshawn Lloyd said it great. They wanted to set the tone. They wanted to take the soul out of Florida. And I think our running backs did a dang good job of that. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how important of a performance it was for Jason Brown leading our Gamecocks to a victory this past Saturday night. The stat line, if you're looking at it, 175 yards, 14 for 24. It's not going to blow you away. It's 60% if you're looking at the numbers for completion percentage, 170 yards. But the number that I'm circling right now, 0 turnovers. That was the biggest concern I had going into the game with Jason Brown starting. I knew he had a rocket of an arm. I knew he had slimmed down 20 pounds. I knew the mobility was there. You could see it. You saw it in the A&M game when he threw that laser dart at the end to hit the Gamecocks team total points over 13.5. I saw it because I won that money. But that being said, you had seen a lot of turnovers when he came in the game. Whether it be a fumble, I think, 2 interceptions against A&M. That was the number that was most important to me looking at this Florida game. Will Jason Brown protect the football, give us enough of an opportunity to win? He absolutely did that. 0 interceptions, 2 touchdown passes, one that our Gamecock media team, if y'all haven't seen it, trolled the heck out of Florida. Talked about things that Josh Vann could do while in the back of that end zone catching that touchdown pass. I thought that was absolutely incredible. But I'll tell you this, Florida will not forget about that. And there's no doubt in my mind when we go to the Swamp next year, they will be playing that every day that week about that big troll job. But hey, who are we kidding? We hadn't won by that much ever against Florida. We deserve to do it. Put up the most points ever. We deserve to have a little bit of fun. Another shout out to our defense. Outstanding job. Clayton White continues to be, in my mind, the best hire Beamer made in this round of hires last year. I think that there's some good things that we've seen just in step with our wide receivers. I think Josh Vann has really turned into a go-to number 1 receiver, something I didn't think that we would have this year. I thought it would just be a wide receiver by committee. But Clayton White, what he's done with the linebackers, I mean, Damani Staley had his best game ever as a Gamecock. Brad Johnson, looking at this, I don't want to get too far ahead, but Brad Johnson, haven't talked about him that much this year. Guess what? Because he's doing all the right things. Us as Gamecock fans, we only want to talk about you when you're either doing outstanding, like having just, the game of your life, or you're playing awful. We really don't talk about those in-between guys. Brad Johnson has had a heck of a year. I think he deserves to get a shout-out, and we'll talk a little bit more about him later in this episode. But, that being said, Clayton White coaching the linebackers. He's got those guys playing extremely well. Extremely well. Defensive line continues to feast on offensive lines. Emory Jones, while he did hit those 2 deep shots early, looking at his stat, 258, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, an amazing interception by Cam Smith. Dang, might need to put him at wide receiver the way he caught that interception. But, going back to the defense, defensive line got pressure. Shoot, that blitz with Darius Rush in the I'd say midway through the 4th quarter, where he comes blindside, takes him out. I was hoping it'd be a sack fumble. Incredible. Strip sack. Jabari Ellis takes it back into the end zone for a touchdown. This, again, cornerback play. Marcellus Dial, Darius Rush, Cam Smith, all playing well. Something we didn't expect. Safety's playing well. R.J. Roderick. We haven't said his name, and again, he's usually the one we're all picking on. What the heck's he doing? Haven't done that lately. Commending Clayton White on his outstanding performance. And I will tell you this, that guy will be a wanted man come this offseason, because people will look at the Gamecocks defense and be like, how the heck did they do that? I expect there to be a big raise for Clayton White coming into the offseason, because we got to keep him. No doubt in my mind. And we're 3 games away from the offseason, so I don't want to get too deep into that. But if I am Beamer, number one on my to-do board, getting Clayton White a nice big old extension. Look, and how about this? I just went through the whole defense, and again, I talked about enough of these guys. Pickens, didn't even say his name. He had an outstanding game. And guess what? The guy that's probably going to be our All-American, Jalen Foster, had the most tackles, had a tackle for a loss. I was rewatching the game on Monday night. His biggest play was right when they were talking about him, too. It was a great tackle for a loss. He had, a pass breakup right around that, but didn't even say his name going through all this. I think that's what when you look back and you look at what Clayton White's done, the guys, I mean, it's not the no-name defense, but, man, it's about sure as heck close. They've done enough with a lot less. These aren't all 4-star and 5-star guys. Maybe along the defensive line. Jimmy Lindsey's probably had the most to work with. But, dang, Clayton White, shoot. I mean, he's done a heck of a job. And so I don't know. I think it goes without saying that our defense played a heck of a performance Saturday night, and we are going to need them big this coming Saturday as we travel to Columbia, Missouri, to take on the Tigers. Which I think it is also funny to say, we play the Tigers every game for the rest of the season. The Missouri Tigers, the Auburn Tigers, and the Tater Tigers from the upstate. All in Columbia. I think that's another, if you want to get somebody on maybe a StatCast, if you're taking notes, if you have a little index card, all the rest of the games in Columbia, all the rest of the games against Tigers. How did it happen Saturday night? Can we put our finger on one play that made the difference? I think, and I'll start with this, the defense coming out, holding them on the first possession, that hadn't happened the past two games. That's what set us up, quite frankly, to get a little early lead, a 3-0 lead. Again, then you give up we gave up two huge passes in those next series against Florida, which was unfortunate. But it was the bend but don't break style of our defense that really didn't break at this point and kept our offense in there enough to start making plays. So again, our running backs played extremely well. The offensive line had their best game to date. And I think that it was that intensity, what you heard from the press conference. Again, Marshawn Lloyd talking about taking their soul. Our defense, when they give us a chance early on in the game and we don't get down early, that's when I think we could be dangerous. That's when I think Satterfield doesn't feel, and again, you should probably always feel pressure as a SEC coordinator, but he doesn't feel the pressure that he's got to dial up the perfect plays when we're down 7-0, 14-0, trying to get us back in. I really do think that was a big momentum changer for us. Stopping them early, getting points on our first drive. Those need to be the key to the games this coming weekend. If Missouri gets the ball first, stop them. Don't give up any points. And then you got to score on your next drive. I think that sets up extremely well. Just any team would say that. But for our Gamecocks to continue to build on that confidence and momentum. We scored on 6 unanswered possessions, starting at the beginning of the second quarter, going all the way till the end of the third. I think if we don't have a record out there, maybe our record's 7 or 8, but that's got to be close to being one of the records. 6 unanswered scores for our Gamecock offense. Says a lot about our defense. So if we're looking at this game and trying to put a bow on Florida, we always have our CB90 players of the game. On offense for me, I'm going to start with the running back, Kevin Harris. I think Kevin Harris set the tone along with Zaquandre White, but Kevin Harris looked like himself. He looked healthy. That bye week, I don't think a bye week could have come at a better time for any team throughout the nation like it did for our Gamecocks. We looked as healthy as we have in a long, long time, 9 games into the season. Shout out to Luke Day. I tweeted it out Sunday night. I was thinking about him. Not like that, but I was thinking, heck, how did we do that? How did we just put the beat down on Florida? You heard about them having the flu. You heard about the injury bugs. Blah, blah, blah. Everybody deals with that every season. That's usually us. But I think Luke Day and the training staff has done a hell of a job. And that's why I want to say shout out to him. Shout out to Coach Day. Way to get our players prepared to play the game the right way, fundamentally sound. And 9 games in, we haven't sustained too many soft tissue injuries. Twisting of the ankle, things that we've seen in the past that has really doomed us. We've had our guys out, don't get me wrong, right? Doty, unfortunately, Zeb, but we haven't had the masses out. It hasn't really crippled us enough to where we have to change our game plan for personnel on 4 cornerbacks down, right? What do we do on our defensive secondary? Defensive line. Shoot, our defensive line, shout out to them, healthiest group of them all. And I think this goes without saying. If I have any recruits watching this or listening to this, you need to listen very, very closely to what I'm about to say. We have 4 starting caliber defensive ends, Bucks, in our system. Aaron Sterling, JJ Ngabare, which I always probably butcher his last name, Jordan Birch, and Jordan Strawn. The reason those guys aren't injured or battling injuries because they're able to sub in every other series is essentially what they do. I've kind of, not going to say I figured it out, but it seems like they rotate them every series, and I think JJ gets more as, the game goes on. But they're healthy because they've got guys that are fresh that can come in there and spell them. So when a school always says, hey, we can give you playing time right away, well, okay, that's great, but are you going to burn the tread on my tires to where I'm not even going to be able to make it to the next step in the league because I played so many snaps? I think it's been a great perfect storm for some of our younger guys to be able to get behind some of these senior-laden guys and really save up that energy for the end of the season. I mean, I'm looking at our ears being pinned back against a Missouri team that throws the ball a ton with a fresh defensive line. I think Tonka Hemingway is coming on. I think MJ Webb is giving us some serviceable snaps. I think that Jabari Ellis and Zach Pickens have done a hell of a job. We've got a treasure of riches on that defensive line. And I think that if you're looking at how we've rotated prospects, if you're a big-time defensive lineman looking to come to Carolina, look how healthy these guys are 9 games into the season. That's probably a team that I'm going to look at. Hey, that coaching staff not only is getting them to play at their peak performance, but he's keeping them healthy. Just something I'm taking a note about if I'm a recruit. Jason Brown, also CB90 player of the game on offense. I think the energy speaks for itself. No turnovers, 2 touchdowns, made plays when he needed to make them. No doubt in my mind, I don't know if we win that game if we don't have Jason Brown at quarterback. What can he do to follow it up against Missouri? We'll talk about it a little here shortly. CB90 player of the game on defense, Cam Smith. Cam Smith had a heck of a game. If you look back, not only did he have an interception, was in on a number of tackles. And what I look for in the secondary, because being a Gamecock fan for so long, the missed tackles in the secondary that lead to the big plays, there was a couple times, solo tackle-wise, I think he had 4 or 5, which is extremely important. You can't give up those big plays, especially to a team like Florida. So Cam Smith, my guy, and then also Jordan Birch. Congrats on you, young man. First sack of the season. I think that's extremely important. First full sack. Then you had a tackle for a loss. It was really a coming out party for Jordan Birch. It was in the second half. I want to say it was like towards the start of the fourth quarter. So if you go back and look, I mean, it was a series of events. He did extremely well. But I think that a guy like that, sophomore, trying to build on some momentum, you could tell it's starting to click. It's starting to click for him. And I think that ultimately, you've got 3 games left. You got 3 fresh legs, or 3 games with fresh legs. Jordan Birch is a guy I'm going to keep my eye on. But CB90 player of the game on defense for him came up big in the fourth quarter where, again, the game, we were, 33-10. We've given up 20-something points leads to Florida. We saw it 4 years ago or 3 years ago under Muschamp in Gainesville. That was the turning point in Muschamp's tenure. I'll tell you that. And I don't want to talk too much about him, but that was the turning point. 3 years ago in Gainesville, up with the 3-touchdown lead, and we gave up that game, and ultimately it was downhill from there. So, putting a bow on Florida, I want to actually toss this out to you all. I follow a number of Gamecock sites, read Gamecock Central a ton, follow a lot on Twitter. But this is a stat I don't think anybody's pointing out that I think should be recognized by our listeners, by our Gamecock fans. I want to look back at some of the teams we beat that people were probably saying, barely scooted by. ECU, barely scooted by Troy. Does anybody know what they've done since we've beaten either of those teams? Anybody have a clue? Probably not. And again, I'm not following ECU every weekend, although I do respect the heck out of Coach Houston and very thankful he gave me my first ever coach's interview. ECU, since we beat them, week 2, they are 5-2. Overall, right now, they're 5-4. They had lost their first 2 games. They're 5-2 since we played them. Their only losses are to Central Florida, Gus Malzahn coach team, by 3 points, and that was at Central Florida. And then Houston, which is a top 25 team, they lost by 7. So 5-2 since we've beaten them. That ECU team, not as bad as people thought. How about Troy? People were like, Troy, you only beat them by 9 points? You covered the spread? What? What's that team done? That team's only won 3 out of their last 4 games. And the only loss they had was to Coastal by a touchdown. They could have won that game. So, those 2 close wins that some people would say, right? We covered the spread on both of them. We were predicted to lose against ECU, and we were only predicted to beat Troy by a touchdown. We covered both. Those teams have gone on to play well. Those are good football teams. They're not great football teams. They're really good football teams. Those were good wins. You talk about the Vanderbilt game. I think I just needed to decompress after that one. Vanderbilt, first year against Will Muschamp, or first year for Will Muschamp, kicked the game-winning field goal, beat him. Spurrier only beat Vanderbilt by a touchdown in his first year. Go back and look at the stats. A win against Vanderbilt's tough to come by sometimes. We beat them. Not to say they've gone on to do great things, but I think at the end of the day, an SEC win's an SEC win. So chalk that one up too. I just wanted to point out ECU and Troy, if you're taking notes on that note card I told you to pull out earlier, they're playing well. And they've played well after we've beaten them, which tells me they're not a bad football team. All right, Missouri time. Columbia, Missouri. 4 o'clock. SEC Network, Saturday afternoon. I'm heading to Edisto, actually tomorrow night. Playing in a golf tournament this weekend, Friday and Saturday. It ends right before 4 p.m., about 3 o'clock. And I cannot wait to watch this football game. I haven't been this excited about a Missouri game in a long time. Because I think this is the opportunity, and I'll tell you this, and Gamecock fans will tell you, we always follow up a huge win in what we think is a program-changing momentum swing with a dud. I'm always cautiously optimistic. As you see, I'm a Gamecock fan. I think that term is used a lot. But I am cautiously optimistic that, which I think it's almost down to a pick 'em now. Missouri came out favored 3, but everybody knows the home team always gets 3 points, which tells you it's a pick 'em. This game's winnable. This game I had before the season started, chalked it up as a loss. I thought Missouri was going to be a good football team this year. I don't think that teams with tempo and that can throw the ball extremely well, we match up all that well with them. That's why I didn't think Tennessee we had a chance. But this Missouri team, starting quarterback, Basilak, or whatever you want to say his last name is, he's still beaten up. I don't think he starts Saturday. That's just kind of how it's trending. But shoot, that guy's got an arm. And they've got receivers too as well. Leading receiver has over 1,000 yards. Or shoot, hold on, I'm looking at this. 500 yards, 30 receptions. When I tell you about the 1,000-yard person, that's when we're going to start saying, ooh, ugh. They have a running back, Beatty, Tyler Beatty. 1,030 yards and 11 touchdowns on the season. Kind of reminds me, and nobody, I might have to duck, get hit by a tomato. Kind of reminds me of Kentucky. Rodriguez, that running back, gave us some fits. Are they going to focus on the run game? We'll see. But I'll tell you this. I'd much rather have Missouri try and beat us with their run game than to sit there and throw the ball all over the park, because I don't think I think our secondary's good, but I don't think an up-tempo offense that's going to be taking shots, which you saw what Tennessee did, the communication errors, which maybe we shored that up during the bye week, but I just don't think that bodes well for us. So if Missouri focuses on the run, again, 1,000-yard rusher, Beatty, which is probably going to be a player to watch. You'll find out here in a little bit. They're averaging 31 points a game, 433 yards of offense, 265 through the air, 168 through the ground. Pretty balanced attack. The issue is for Missouri, and this is where a lot of people have pointed it out, they give up 478 yards on defense. Their defense is paper thin. It's like a hot knife through butter if you're trying to run through them. They're giving up 271 yards on the ground. 271. So what's extremely important is not that we beat Florida this past Saturday, but it's how we did it. Racking up over 250 yards through the ground. That's setting us up, if we can get a helmet on the offensive line, to play the type of football that beats Missouri and beats them pretty bad. And that's the running the football. You know, if you all are curious too, we've actually bumped up with that 40-point performance. We're at 23 points a game, and we're averaging giving up 23 points a game. So that's why we're a 5-4 football team. Looking at our last 5 games, we're 3-2. Missouri, 2-3. Missouri needs this win. They need this win. They're coming off back-to-back road games at Vanderbilt, at Georgia. Got beat by 37 against Georgia. Now they're coming home. So understand, they're hungry. They've been on the road the past 2 games. They're happy to get home. That's going to be, again, people keep saying, I've seen a lot, hey, Missouri should be a win. Let's talk about those last 2 games at home. Missouri's coming home. They've been out for 2 weeks. So think about this. They've been on a bye, and then they've been on the road the past 2 weeks. They have not played at home in over a month. Their fans are going to be ready to see them. Although they're 4-5, I think they show up because they know this is a victory. They know this is their chance, like we had last week, to get to 5-5 and potentially give them an opportunity to get to a bowl game. Everybody wants to talk about that 6th win, the bowl game. Don't tell Shane Beamer that. And I'm the same way. We'll get the bowl game when we get the bowl game. Let's get the win this weekend. So I wanted to point out that too as well. Missouri has not played at home in over a month. Extremely important when you're thinking about how hungry. I don't care if the Gamecocks were 2-7. If we hadn't played at home in over a month, you're probably going to get your, let's say, sidewalk fan. They're probably going to want to come to the game just because it's been that long. You only get 7 football games a year at home. I think Missouri will be out loud and proud. All right, matchups to watch. So, Tyler Beatty. Missouri's run game against our front 7. Can Brad Johnson continue to have a great season? Can Damani Staley continue to have a great season? Can our big uglies up front, Zach Pickens, Jabari Ellis, can they hold the line? Can we seal the edge on the outside with JJ and Aaron Sterling and Strawn and Birch? That's going to be a telltale sign if we're going to be able to stop this run. I'm not going to put Jalen Foster and Cam Smith against our run game because that would mean that they're 10 to 15 yards down the field. I don't want that to happen. That front seven's got to play lights out Saturday night. Number 2 on my matchups to watch. Can the O-line put together back-to-back solid games? Again, people are crowning the offensive line for last week. I played offensive line at Buford High. That was a good performance by the offensive line, but these running backs, they made that offensive line look good. There's a lot of times where the offensive line makes the running backs look good. Those running backs made our offensive line look really good last Saturday. Let's get back-to-back solid games out of our offensive line. Missouri's defense is only averaging 2 sacks a game. That's another statistic we always talk about. Do not give up higher than the average. If you see them go over 2 sacks this game, not a good performance from our offensive line. I expect Jason Brown to be dialing it up and tossing the ball a little bit. Finally, it kind of led me right into it. Number 3 on matchups to watch, Jason Brown versus those Missouri DBs. They've got 10 interceptions on the year. They're averaging 1 a game. Jalen Carleys leads them with 4 interceptions on the year. He's their 3rd leading tackler, too, so they've got playmakers in the secondary. I think it's extremely important that, like we talked about earlier, Jason Brown can control the game and not have any turnovers, which, again, maybe 1 turnover happens. But let's not compound turnovers. That's a winning recipe. It's always going to be a winning recipe, but especially for these Gamecocks. Players to watch, I've already told you, Missouri, Tyler Beatty, 1,000 yards rushing. Another stat to put on that note card. I like to put a note card out and have it for the game because you could always say CB90 said it. Beatty's got a 73-yard run on the year. That means he's a burner. That means he could take it to the house. Don't give up the big play. And then again, I'm looking at Jalen Carleys, 4 interceptions on the year, 3rd leading tackler. Those are the 2 guys I'll keep my eye out. 1 on offense, 1 on defense. For Carolina, for our Gamecocks, who am I keeping an eye out for? It's the same guys that I've been talking about all show. These running backs. Kevin Harris, Zaquandre White, Marshawn Lloyd. I need you all to continue and take the soul out of the defense. You know how you do that? Big, huge runs, running through their helmet, doing things that make them say, I don't know if we can stop them. That's when you put your helmet in between their 2 eyes and you're running through them. I've had some running backs back in our day at Buford High. Those guys would run through you. They wouldn't run around you. They'd run through you. And you don't want to sit there and take that beating play after play, quarter after quarter for 4 quarters. And we've got a healthy running back stable. Marshawn Lloyd, I am glad that he came out and said it because I didn't want to bring it up. That touchdown run against Texas A&M, while I was happy he got into the end zone, you could see, I don't know if you all watched this, he was wearing the brace, but when he went to go plant, he didn't put that leg down all the way into the ground. It was almost like a little shimmy but barely touching the ground, and he skirted on in there. But that was a scared cut. And I don't blame him. You tear your ACL. I never tore my ACL, but I can only imagine something similar to cut like that. You're probably not feeling yourself. He looked like what I saw in preseason camp pre-ACL tear this past Saturday. He didn't have his brace on. He felt more comfortable. A lot of that's mental. And I thought it was extremely important for him to come out and say that too as well. I think if you talk out loud about some of those things you're probably thinking in your head, that ultimately it's going to set you up for more success. So I'm glad he came out and said that. Kevin Harris, Zaquandre White, Marshawn Lloyd, those are the guys that are going to help us get this victory. Guess what they also do? I'll tell y'all this. I was driving in my car. Maybe I was in the shower. Maybe I was laying on the couch. I was doing something. But it came to my mind, like literally, like just lit up like a light bulb. Yes, we ran for 250 yards, but we ran the ball with authority. Guess what that did? That set up the big play for Jason Brown. Our quarterbacks have not had the opportunity for any defense to be afraid of our run game all year. And guess what? If you can't run the dang football, the play action pass doesn't work. They're not afraid of you running. So guess what? The linebackers don't take a step up. The safeties aren't holding. It's, to me, I guess in my mind, I'm trying to tell you all this. If we can establish the run game like we did, we are going to be set up for success these last 3 games. And I think that maybe at Carolina, we should be more of a running football team, a pound-it-in-your-face running football team like that sets our quarterbacks up for that play-action deep shot. The deep shot's in the arsenal for Satterfield. Play action is in the arsenal for Satterfield. Let's get some big runs early. Let's pop them in the mouth, and let's hit some play action deep balls. I'm looking at you. On defense, Saturday. I've mentioned these 2 guys before, and this is how I just roll. You play a game well, I'm expecting you to do it again. Jordan Birch, you're the guy I'm keeping an eye out for. Can you continue to build on that momentum? Let's get you another sack. How about a sack fumble? Get you a strip sack. Let's get you something that you haven't done before yet, right? You've taken an interception back to the house. You've gotten a sack. How about a strip sack Saturday by Jordan Birch? I think it's going to happen. Write it down on that note card. And then Brad Johnson. I hadn't been talking about you all year, but now I'm going to talk about you. Keep your eyes on Brad Johnson. He's had a heck of a year. He's played well. I want him to have another solid performance. Senior laden guy. Pick up this defense. Let's have them ready to roll in Columbia, Missouri at 4 o'clock. What does this all mean? What does this all mean? I don't know. This team and this... the guess is as good as yours in how we're going to perform Saturday. We come out and put 40 points on a Florida defense that I looked back. They had only given up more than 40 points one time, and that was to Georgia. Or actually, Georgia I don't even think scored 40 points. I'd have to go. LSU was the only team that had scored over 40 when I went back and looked at the stats. We had scored the second most points. It wasn't like that Florida defense was giving up 40 points. They didn't. I think they 28 to Bama. So listen here. Can our offense do it again? I don't know if 40 points is the number that we need to win. But, man, that kind of came from out of nowhere. Defense scored a touchdown, though, too. So I think 33. I think that 30, low 30 number is where we need to target. Missouri, quarterback iffy. Haven't played at home in a month. Running back that can run for over 1,000 yards or has run for over 1,000 yards. Breaks away 70-yard runs. Got 2 wide receivers close to 500 yards in receiving yards. What does it all mean? What does it all mean? I don't know what to do with my hands right now because I'm thinking it means that the Gamecocks, this is a new era. This isn't like the old Gamecocks. These are the Shane Beamer fighting Cocks. And they're not going to let us down coming from a big win to a letdown. I don't think they do it. So, if you've got your pen and you've got your index card out, I've got the Carolina Fighting Gamecocks 31, Mizzou Tigers 20. I think it's an 11-point win. I think we're the better football team. I think Missouri's going like this. I think the Cocks are going like this. I think it's going like that. And that means that we're going to win. Put it on your index card. Tweet it out. Shout it on a mountaintop. The Cocks are coming home 6-4, and they're staring the Auburn, Mike Bobo, Tigers in the face. Which does remind me, I'm giving away 2 Auburn tickets. If you're following me on social media, at Cox_by_90 on Twitter, Instagram, CoxBy90 on Facebook, giving away 2 tickets. All you have to do, like the post, share it, tag 3 Gamecocks, and make sure you're following me. I really, I think I've told you all this before. There is no system I have that does it. I literally go through by hand. Maybe there is one that can do it for me. But I go through by hand every single person. Did they do everything right? It takes up a lot of time. But I'm telling you this, it's because I love you all, and that's why I do it. All right. It's kind of weird to talk about basketball already because it's November. And I just think basketball gets started in January. That's just kind of how I feel because that's when SEC play starts. That's when I feel it. So, yesterday, if you all are listening to this in podcast form, 2 days ago, Tuesday night, we got kick-started on ESPN, the mothership, at 5 o'clock. We were in Raleigh-Durham to face the NC State Wolfpack. Number 5 ranked NC State Wolfpack, I might say, who also ended our 27-28 game winning streak last year. 5 o'clock, ESPN. That's right when everybody's getting home. I thought it was pretty impressive that we got that slot. And I think it's important that our Lady Gamecocks got that. So, I watched the entire game. I love women's basketball. We are the best show on the hardwood when it comes to women's basketball. There's no doubt in my mind about that. These ladies are fun. They play aggressive. We've got size. I think this is a team that has zero on their mind. And zero meaning that I don't think that they think they can lose. This was one of the more sloppier performances I've ever seen. I think we had 13 turnovers in the first half and then a handful in the second half. I think it was 3 or 4. But beat the Wolfpack by 9. And I'm looking at the box score, right? We just got scoring from a lot of different players that ultimately were a lot of big-time players, right? Aaliyah Boston, she has trimmed down a ton. She looks great. She only had 8 points, had 5 blocks, 6 rebounds. So it was a ho-hum game for her. But even when she's not playing an absolute great game, we're still beating the number 5 team in the nation by 9 points. I think Destiny Henderson, Zaya Cook, they had outstanding games, 17 and 14 points respectively. Emma here, she is capitalizing off of that great offseason that she's had. 9 points for her. Destiny Littleton, I want to say I looked her up. She was a transfer from Texas a couple years ago. 7 points there. And again, I'm not just sitting here to tell you I'm a women's basketball expert, but I do know a lot about just sports in general. And I know a lot about when I see a good team, and we've got a dang good team. And that's why we're ranked number 1 in women's basketball. So, shout out to those Lady G's. Go on the road, win by 9 on ESPN. And it was a great segue into our 7 o'clock SEC Network Plus game against South Carolina Upstate. I was at the exhibition last Thursday against Benedict, and I will tell you all this. If you follow me on Instagram, I was filming the Benedict crowd. I will, and we could probably start, I don't know if it takes a GoFundMe, but if we could somehow, whenever Benedict's not playing a game, to come get their fans in our arena and bring their band. Nothing against the mighty sound of the Southeast, but they had me dancing. I was dancing last Thursday night. And so if there's a way to get them in our stands, in our arena, have their band play, I don't know, do something, do a duet or something. Have both bands play. If it's an off night for Benedict, find a way to get them into Colonial Life Arena because that was a dang good time. I'll tell you what's also a dang good time. Winning. And the Gamecocks won handily by 18. I thought you had strong performances from a couple of your transfers. Josh Gray is somebody, I can't say enough great things about him. He performed well. He was 13 points. I think it was 4 blocks, 5 rebounds in the exhibition. Came out and followed that up with another strong performance. 8 points, 8 rebounds. He's a guy that's going to be a double-double walking machine. He's a double-double walking. He's a guy I'm really, really excited about. Wildens Levesque, 14 points. That guy can be a big-time player for us. I've heard a lot of great things. He's going on his third year in the program. He's a guy, again, continue to watch out for. Kuznard, 14 points. Don't think he played his best game. Don't think he had to. Very impressed with him. Stevenson. When Eric Stevenson gets his shot going, which he did against Benedict, it is an extremely fun time to watch. The guy will shoot from anywhere on the court. Kind of reminds me of Marshall Henderson back from Ole Miss. He had 8 or 9 points. Got a couple of his threes to drop late, but he's a guy that's a pure shooter, and he's going to be one of those guys, along with James Reese, who I think Reese will end up being our leading scorer this year. You all can write that down. I don't think we're going to have a guy in the 20s, but I think we're going to have a lot of distribution points-wise across the board, and I think Reese will end up averaging the most out of these. He has got the purest shot I've seen in a while. You partner him up with Stevenson, Kuznard, Levesque, Gray. That's not even talking about Keyshawn Bryant, who is probably our best player overall. You look at the bench, Taekwon Woodley, extremely impressive prospect. That's one of those guys, he was a 3-star, and everybody's like, why don't you go get me a 4-star? Guess what? You don't got to get a 4-star. You don't have to look at the star rankings. Woodley's going to be a great player for the Gamecocks. He could score down low. I loved everything I saw about him. Benson got some time, and he didn't see a lick of playing time last year. I think he shaped his body up well. He's got a good shot. He had 2 points, was able to get on. And then I look at this. Jacoby Wright, Chico Carter, and Devin Carter. 3 prospects. Chico Carter's a junior transfer, and Jacoby Wright and Devin Carter are both freshmen. I think that we've got a strong backcourt for the foreseeable future. I loved what I saw of Jacoby Wright. He's got a good shot. Devin Carter, he is a highlight reel waiting to happen. So all that combined into an 18-point win. We've got the Asheville Classic inaugural one this weekend. Should be interesting to see what we can do. Again, I think it's some formidable competition, but nothing that's going to say, boom, it's a huge win. Both opportunities to get solid wins and then head back home next Thursday against UAB. I will be in attendance for that game, and I'll probably be giving away some more tickets. So if you all don't follow me, I gave away 6 tickets this past game just to people that follow me and said, hey, here's a thank you. I'll plan to do that for the rest of the season because I can't make it to every basketball game. I reside here in Charleston. As you know, the games are in Colonial Life Arena in Columbia. So as many as I can't make is as many as you all get free tickets. So I appreciate the kind words for the people that used them and said thank you, and look forward to giving more out to people that want to make it to basketball games and unfortunately don't have tickets. You know, we'll get you out there. So what does it all mean? It means that this show's coming to an end. If you're listening to me tomorrow, thank you. If you're listening to me tonight when I release it in podcast form, thank you. If you're tuning in right now watching my mug live, thank you. This show, this podcast has always been about you. It's always been about the fans. It's been about bringing fans together. I went to the exhibition last Thursday with Cocky Texan, Jonathan Frew. I mean, we never would have known each other if it wasn't through interactions on Twitter and literally just creating a Gamecock network. My ultimate goal with this podcast is to give you all informed information from a fan's perspective. When I find out a little inside information, I'll pass it along. But ultimately, I'm one of you all. I'm a Gamecock fan. I'm born and bred. I went to the University of South Carolina. I'm a season ticket holder. I just love talking about the Gamecocks, and I love to do it behind a mic, and I love to interact with you all. So that being said, if you're tuning in for the first time listening to this podcast, this is what you're going to get. Week in and week out. I do it with the Garnet Glasses perspective, and that's probably why I picked the Gamecocks to beat Missouri, but I really do think we should win. So again, thank you all who support me. Shoot, I tell you, our website, you'll all have me working day and night. There is no packaging company that does everything. I hand package it all. I always put a little twist on it and try and give everybody a little surprise, free something every time you order it. It's just because I love it. I drive to the post office every single day. I say hey to the same lady and drop the packages off. And it's just fun. I love doing that. I love putting a smile on Gamecock fans' faces. So I just enjoy the moment, enjoy the big win against Florida. This is appreciation for you all because at the end of the day, I wouldn't be here without you all. So thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in to episode 59 of Cox by 90. And guess what we're going to do in Columbia, Missouri? We're going to shake this place. Let's go.